Welcome into the Sports Buffoons podcast. We welcome you into the Sports Buffoons studios with our boys Tanner Dawson, Jason JG, and Mike Settle here running it. What's going on, guys?
What's going on, everybody?
What's up, yo?
We've had an interesting week, haven't we? Lots of different news and events going on in the sports world.
That's right.
I think we've enjoyed some of it, but I mean, Tanner, you and I went out last night.
Yep.
We had an okay time, but we had some things happen. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But we have some Chiefs news to talk about. We have the NFC South today to cover.
Yes.
So we're talking about a little Saints action. We're talking about, which, by the way, the Saints were to just remind you guys, the division winner of the NFC South last year.
That's correct.
Some Bucks. We're going to talk a couple different Bucks, by the way. We've got the Falcons and, of course, the Panthers. And then we got some fantasy discussion as well. We got some tight ends to talk about today. So, Tanner's favorite thing on a weekend. So,
you're talking about my tight end?
Talking about when you go to P&L every once in a while and you come back bragging.
Every once in a while.
You know what I'm saying? One of those kind of tight ends. But, you'll find one every once in a while. I'm surprised that, Travis Kelce probably goes out there every once in a while, but it's hard to say.
You mean Kels?
Oh, we are not getting into this Kelce topic once again. We discussed it last week. We're not discussing it again. Anyway, what are you guys drinking right now? Let's get to the point here. What are the most important things of the day? What are we drinking?
Well, I got some Maker's Mark here, so you can't go wrong with Maker's Mark.
We're going to go with the Southern Comfort and Cranberry today, guys. Haven't had it in a long time, but it's probably one of the GOAT drinks. If it's not the GOAT, it's probably a top 5 GOAT.
A little throwback.
Jason, what made you want to get SoCo today? That's weird.
I saw it on the shelf, and I realized it was a great part of humanity, and I realized I hadn't had it for a long-ass time. So this was the time to get it.
Was it a good part of your 20s?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the 20s. When you're in your 20s, it's a great time for SoCo, for sure.
SoCo. So you got SoCo Cranberry, not SoCo Lime, like most people would have.
I mean, you could go either way. I mean, I love SoCo Lime, but I mean, it's however you want it.
It's one of those things. Like, I think people, as they get older, our age group or the millennials or whatever, like, we're gonna walk into a bar one day when we're all 50 years old, and we're gonna order a SoCo Lime, and the people are gonna be like, it's like the same thing to now was like gin and tonic. I mean, they're gonna be like, well, you're old as hell then.
How old are you?
I mean, because no one orders a SoCo anything anymore. I don't think they even have it at most bars. But
well, they have it.
Oh, they have it for the old guys?
Yeah.
Or the new old guys?
Yeah, there's a reason why they call it SoCo. I mean, it's Southern Comfort, so it's really big in the South, but not so much in other parts of the country. Okay, that's fair. So you're telling me like Texas, Louisiana, all those guys probably like that stuff? Yeah, they all know what that shit is. Okay. Well, that's good to know, I suppose. I'm sipping on a little bit of Maker's Mark myself. I had to make Tanner happy since I stole a little bit of his Knob Creek earlier this week. So he doesn't need to know about that. I just told you guys the secret on air. So let's go ahead, you guys. Let's discuss, get this out of our systems, obviously. The NBA Finals are now in the books. It is now official. This is not an asterisk year, as we've discussed on this show before. This is a legitimate year. Put them in the books. They deserve it. I thought Giannis played great. I think at the end of the day, this series was won by the better team because a healthy Giannis was better than everything that the Suns had to offer. Mm-hmm. And even though, as you guys know, that have been watching the show for a while, and I've been big on the Suns all postseason and really all year, I thought the Suns were the better team, and I was wrong. Because whenever Giannis is healthy, he could take over a whole game. And Giannis himself is better than anything that the Suns had to offer. Because the whole game plan for the Suns was to what? Foul Giannis, and they got themselves in trouble by doing that because they couldn't stop him in the paint. And so when you can't stop him in the paint and he's blocking half your shots, I mean, you're not going to stand a chance. I think this game 6 here was definitely won with the rebounds and also won in the paint from Giannis. And he was – what was his field goal percentage or
free throw percentage?
17 for 19, guys. 17 for 19.
Yeah, that's impressive for him. I mean, that was one of his best games I've ever seen him have, without a doubt. 50 burger, as we like to say on the show.
That's practically day near 20 points just from the line by itself. That's impressive.
Right.
That was 50.
So, anyways, the Bucks had won 105-98. So, congratulations to the Bucks.
Yes.
I want to go ahead and let you guys have your thoughts on this whole showdown.
And just a fun fact too, Torrey Craig from the Suns also won a ring because he was part of the
True.
Bucks earlier that season.
Yes, so he got a ring.
So
no
he
matter
still
what.
got a ring no
And-
matter what.
and-
he played 1 minute in that game.
Somebody we'll talk about for a minute later on, and Aaron Rodgers got an extra ring, right? Because
Aaron Rodgers.
he's part owner
That's right.
of the Milwaukee
They had
Bucks.
Larry Fitzgerald on the other side and
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers on the other Bucks side. So
Actually, it makes sense now that I think about it because LeBron was there supporting the Suns, so he lost another Finals championship. So that was an interesting thing that we can add in there.
will LeBron come in at?
He was at the Suns game in Phoenix, and he was supporting and rooting for the Suns
He
in
was
that
supporting Chris Paul. Yeah.
game. Yeah, he wanted the Suns to win.
Yeah.
And here
That's
we
fine.
are.
Okay. that's
So,
fine.
anyways, you guys, I just wanted to let that out and make sure you guys knew the facts of what's going on with LeBron's career record in the Finals now.
That was random. All right.
Well, we had to make sure we got that put in there. But before we move on to some Chiefs topics, we're going to talk about Frank Clark. I want to give you guys the floor to talk about the NBA Finals and your full thoughts. Jason JG, you are an NBA expert. Tell us your whole thoughts on everything went down.
Yeah, so I got to start out here with Coach Budenholzer because he got trashed basically after game 1, game 2. I actually trashed him after game 1, and I told you guys on the show, I said, if he doesn't make the necessary adjustments, which is to play big, and I didn't have confidence that he was going to do that, even though, I'm a big Coach Bud fan because he came from that coaching tree, San Antonio Spurs under Greg Popovich. I didn't think it was going to happen, but I've got a confession here that I got to make on the show, right? So
What's your
you guys
confession,
know
Jason?
that you guys know my special talent. I think we've talked about it here before.
Yes.
And so
It's
I
worked in both
wasn't
favors before.
I wasn't completely honest with you guys, okay? I wanted the Bucks to win. I knew they were the better team the entire time. So what did I do? I had to choose the Suns. I crammed the Suns down your throat this entire series.
Because I called you out about it, too. I mean, I told you weren't giving the Suns enough credit. But, I mean, like I said, the better team won this.
Yeah, the better team won. But I had to, put all my eggs into one basket. I had to talk up the Suns as much as possible in order to figure out a way to help the Bucks win. But I'm very happy at the coaching job that Budenholzer did. And I knew he was a smart enough guy to make the adjustments that I talked about. And those adjustments were, first of all, you got to play big, try to get DeAndre Ayton into foul trouble. But the other problem I had with this series, and especially in game 6, the closeout game, is the fact that Devin Booker started to play like Devontae Booker.
Yeah.
Right? So he went 0 for 7 from 3-point land, 8 of 22 field goal for 19 points. So if you're in a closeout game, you can't play like Devontae Booker. You got to play like Devin Booker.
Can I also throw the stat out for you? 6 turnovers. 6 turnovers
From Booker.
alone.
Yeah, it was a bad game without a doubt. I think at that point he was so frustrated because he had dominated game 5 with no help of Chris Paul, and here we are.
Yeah. So the other thing that gave me hope, as I guess you could call me a bandwagon Bucks fan in this series, is that after game 1, and I failed to mention this the whole time, but Kendrick Perkins was on record after game 1. He called the Milwaukee Bucks the dumbest team in NBA Finals history. And the moment he said that, I thought, this is my saving grace. This series is over. Because when you insult a team like that, not just the coach, but all of the players, that's what gave me confidence. Not to mention the fact that, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Giannis, what do these guys all do well? They play defense. And that's what got them through the series. And that's one thing that when you're in the NBA, you can always depend on your defense, no matter how many shots you make from game to game. But I had a problem with the way that Devin Booker played. Chris Paul was okay. He had 26 points. So I think Chris Paul actually did his job in this game. They needed more from Booker. DeAndre Ayton didn't show up. He was 4 of 12 for 12 points. Now, obviously, he was
Crowder. How do you think about him?
Well, yeah, Crowder did Crowder things, but the main thing is Ayton got into foul trouble. This was not the first game that he got into foul trouble, and that's what I was preaching after game one. I was like, you've got to play big, put Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez in there, and get this guy into foul trouble because they have no other bigs. And, I kind of made a big deal when Dario Saric got injured. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, we don't consider Dario Saric as a big, but he was a guy that could throw some fouls out there. He could have at least fouled Giannis.
He was depth. He was depth for Phoenix, is what he was, in a way.
Yeah, and so I mean, this series though, as much as I want to trash the Suns right now, it's all about Giannis. So he had 50 points in the game, most points in a finals closeout game since the NBA-ABA merger, and it's better than Jordan. So Jordan put up 45 points in Game 6 of the 1998 NBA Finals against the Jazz. And so Giannis, in this case, he one-upped Michael Jordan. He's also the second player in history with 3 40-point and 10-rebound games in a single NBA Finals. And the first guy to do that was Shaquille O'Neal in the year 2000. So the question that everybody keeps asking me is he now the best player in the league? Well, if we're talking about a two-way player, there's no doubt. I mean, there's no argument here. I mean, that's an insult to Giannis to even have that debate. If you're talking about a two-way player, he is absolutely, no doubt, best player in the league. But Kevin Durant might have something to say about that. And so my opinion is that KD is still the best player in the league, although he's going to be 33 years old next year. I'm interested to see you guys' thoughts on that. But I still think KD's a better player, but Giannis is he's the face of the league. Like, he's the Patrick Mahomes of the NBA right now. And,
and he's likable, right? I mean, that's one of the things that requires being the face.
Yeah.
That is likable, right? I mean, he's one of those guys, we've seen him has interacted with children before, and some of the things he actually acts kind of naive about as far as an American culture. I think it's kind of cool seeing that. And I like the guy. He's a bully on the court, but I think he's a good guy off the court.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, again, my main analysis of this entire series in Game 6, if you will, it's the defense all the way. Because you look at the numbers, Chris Middleton, he played great in the series, but he only shot 6 of 13 in Game 6, 1 of 4 from 3. 17 points. I mean, if you would have told me that Chris Middleton's only going to give you 17, Drew Holiday is only going to give you 12, and that's it. I mean, I would have told you the Suns are going to win this game. But this is all about defense. And that's why, this is a different discussion, but this is why USA Basketball, they are desperate to get Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, not just because of the way they can help on offense, but because of what they do on the defensive side of the ball. And that's, to me, that's what won the championship. It's always like a cliche in the NFL and the NBA. We always talk about, defense wins championships. Well, that's exactly what happened here. The Suns were the better offensive team, but the Bucks were the better all-around team. And that has a lot to do with their defense.
Well, can we give it to can we at least recognize Bobby Portis for stepping into that bench role and just being a force, not only in the offensive side, multiple games this series, but the guy was a beast on defense. He'd get in people's faces. He made Crowder upset. He even upset Booker and Chris Paul. The best thing in the world. The guy's a crazy guy. I don't know if you guys actually watched the series and saw Bobby Portis' eyes. It looks like they're going to fall out of his face anytime.
I think this is how he looks, Tanner.
And that's the kind of guy you don't want to face on defense. He looks like a maniac, and that's what he played like. He played great. He was great beyond for three-point range the entire series, and he was always in the mix. I'm going to give props to Bobby Portis because he just stepped up and beyond belief for those guys there on the Bucks.
Yeah, Bobby Portis is amazing, and I think they're gonna have a difficult time trying to re-sign him for next year.
Yeah,
but he's definitely a fan favorite, and I think if they're gonna try to make a run for a back-to-back, they've got to have Bobby Portis. Another guy we don't talk about is Pat Connaughton. He played like shit on offense, but he made some key plays down the stretch defensively.
Yes,
and although he had a bad game on offense, he's normally a guy that you can depend on to hit his 3-point shots.
Yeah, no, it was a tough game, but he, like I said, he stayed in there and he gave it everything he got, left it on the floor, and he did a hell of a job where he needed to be. So props to him. But man, it's just crazy. If you look at the stat line here, I mean, PJ Tucker, who's in the starting five, usually gets all the foul calls too that are bogus most of the time. But just props to him for just sticking out. Yeah, he had 0 points. That wasn't his role. His role wasn't that. His role was to shut down Booker. His role was to shut down Paul when it came to be, and that's exactly what he did. He got in their face, he got in their mind too. So props to Tucker there. Like, guys, the Bucks won. Like we talked about, Jason and Mike here. We chatted right beforehand, gave a small prediction for Game 6, and I said the Bucks are going to win because Giannis is healthy. Giannis is healthy. It's a new game. When we originally made the series, Giannis was coming off that injury, and I wasn't exactly sure where he was at. But you see what he does when he's healthy, and especially against a team that doesn't have anybody down low except for Ayton. And the Bucks did exactly what they needed: attack the middle, get Ayton in foul trouble, and it's game over from there. Because Booker, you can focus everything on Booker and Paul, and as soon as you stop those guys, there's nobody else really there. So props to the Bucks. I'm not totally surprised here, but it was definitely a great series to watch, and I'm happy we had it this year.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you guys gave your final thoughts on that. Real quick before we jump into some Frank Clark and Alex Okafor news, you guys want to talk about anything real quick about the odds going into next season for the NBA?
Yes, I would be happy to talk about that. So real quick, the odds for next year to win the championship in the NBA. So we've got the Nets have the best odds at 9-4. Lakers are 9-2. The Bucks are in third. They are 8-1, and the Golden State Warriors are 12-1. And I want to throw this out there because my opinion, based on what I've seen from the Bucks and their defense, is that although the Nets are the favorites going into next season, I don't trust the Nets to stay healthy. And even if they do stay healthy, what do those guys have to give? We all know that James Harden doesn't do shit on defense. Kyrie Irving doesn't do shit on defense. And Kevin Durant, although he used to do shit on defense, he's now 33 years old. I would give the Bucks a fighting chance to take the Nets next year, especially because you just can't depend on the Nets to stay healthy. And so I think if I'm going to make a bet here right now at the Bucks 8-1, I'll be all over that shit. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I mean, if I had to give my way too early prediction right now, because that's what it is, I'd totally go Bucks. But obviously, there's a lot going on with the draft coming up next Thursday for the NBA, and then we got free agency to follow that. So there's a lot that could happen. People that could maybe not potentially sign. A Dame Lillard could go in somewhere this year, and that could change the whole game. Like the Nets could maybe still be the favorite. But if he goes like the Lakers or even the Knicks with Randall, that could bump them up too and take over. So there's a lot of potential moves that could happen this year, and it could be an exciting offseason for the NBA.
Yeah, Dame time is not going to the Knicks. He'll be on the Sixers next year, but that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, I last saw Dame time in the new Space Jam movie, by the way.
So you watched it?
Oh, I told you, Tanner. I watched the new Space Jam the day it came out, as a matter of fact, on our little secret, Plex thing.
Yeah, I haven't got to it yet.
Anyways, the movie itself, I didn't care for that much. It was kind of goofy, and at the end of the whole, or really an hour of the movie was them playing the game, but they wasn't even playing basketball. You would get points off of dancing, and so they weren't even shooting the basketball in this game. It was literally like a dance competition or like a style points kind of a deal, and that was pretty awkward for me to watch when I'm trying to watch a funny basketball movie. And I know I'm not 11 years old, but even for 11-year-old, they're going to be confused. Oh, so when I go play basketball in my local middle school, if I do a little spin dance, TikTok dance, then I get style points for shooting. That's not going to work that way in the real life. So anyways,
I'll let you know. I'm like 12 years old, so I'll let you know when I watch it.
Right, okay. Quick, guys. So you've already given your Dame prediction on the Knicks. I've given my prediction of the Sixers. Mike, we need a Dame prediction for next year.
Does he stay or does he go somewhere?
He's going to go somewhere. Because as we know about the NBA players, they're not loyal. Those guys.
Have you seen the crap he's put through?
Those guys will happily move around the league.
Giannis stayed.
For now.
So what
He's
do you
also
think? Are you
26,
thinking-
Tanner.
Are you thinking Mavericks? Are you thinking?
Look, I'm not going to get deep into this. Look, let's save some of that for later down the road. The next, not anytime soon.
3 months from now, right?
3,
Mike?
4,
Let's
5,
give it a couple of months.
6 months from now, after football season,
thinks
whatever.
of thunder,
We could then
Jason,
discuss some Dame if you'd like. But hey, I will say this as far as the odds. I think that the Nets are probably going to be favored going into the season right now. But we'll see what happens in the draft. Keep in mind, Chris Paul has a $44 million player option to stay with the Suns. I'm assuming he takes that ass. I mean, why not? I mean, what kind of crazy person would not take $44 million player option to stay one more year? So he'll be there probably one more year. At that point, for me, it's too late. I think that the Suns have had their fun little ride, and they'll be in the playoffs again next year. But
Only time will tell.
I don't think they're going to be able to put up the test of the fight against some of the better competition of the world, especially guys that have those rough guys in the paint, like what they just faced with the Bucks. So with that said, you guys, moving on along here, we are, as you know, what's funny is I've been saying all along we're based out of Overland Park, but pretty soon, you guys, we are moving to Lenexa, actually, which is obviously, if you guys are familiar, just down the road, not too far at all. But this will be our last episode at this location. We'll be moving.
OP Studios.
Yes. The OG OP Studios in Overland Park over here. We'll be shutting it down. We're moving across the land approximately 5 miles or so, and we'll be doing our show from there from now on. So take a good gander at our background and enjoy it for the last time, or just, look forward to what we have coming in the future at least.
New scene coming up in August.
Exactly. So we'll obviously be at Chiefs Camp August 5th. So August 4th, we will have a very special show with you guys doing a schedule release, or not schedule release, doing a draft pick release show on our episode that day with our league that we run together. And we basically will be doing a release live of what pick we end up getting in our draft. So we can give original reactions to our initial pick for fantasy, and we'll then have 1 month to prepare with that pick in mind. So I'm not one of those guys that likes to surprise everybody where you get to find out 24 hours in advance or even a half hour in advance.
Put your number in a hat. Put your number in a hat.
Right. No, we're not doing all that either. So we're just going to literally randomize it right away live on the show here in 2 weeks and go from there. So anyways, you guys, let's move on and talk a little bit about the signing of Alex Okafor. And if this is enough for the Chiefs defensive line, and if this is enough for what the Chiefs are going to be doing throughout the entire season, and obviously they're going to need some depth. They're concerned about Frank Clark and his, felony possession charge. And so that's going to be an issue, something that I'm interested in, finding more out about how the league handles this, if he is suspended at all, because there's a lawyer based out of Kansas City. Her name is Ellen Mathis, and she expects Clark to play in every game in 2021. So she, based on her knowledge of how things work, she thinks this is going to be such a process to have to go through that it's going to be something he can play every game this season. But the NFL at the end of the day is going to have the bigger say over what happens with his career. So I think they can make those choices as the NFL wants to, as a suspension could unfold. So even though Ellen Mathis may think that Clark could play and should play every game due to how it works in the courts, well, the NFL could also say, you made us look bad. We're going to suspend you for 2 games or so on.
Yeah.
And so I want to keep that in mind. But the Chiefs did add, as I said, Alex Okafor to the roster once again. Obviously a very familiar face. Back in 2019, Okafor had 5 sacks with the team. 2020, 3 sacks only, but he was also injured. Something I want to keep in mind with you guys is that Okafor, his best season ever was in 2014 with the Arizona Cardinals. He only had 8 sacks in that season. So this is a guy, 30 years old. I mean, it's a stopgap, filler, veteran type of an addition. Is he going to amount to much? No, he's really not. So we need guys to step up along the defensive line, especially at defensive end, because we're going to assume we're going to have a season with potentially missing games from Frank Clark, in my mind. And so we're looking at Taco Charlton. Is he going to be healthy and playing up to his capabilities as he was as a first-round pick? Can Mike Dana go from basically being a great basically edge guy to where he is containing? He's great at containment, good against the run, but can he rush the passer? I don't know. We've seen enough of that yet for him to be able to unfold those capabilities. And then obviously after that, they've made some additions like Joshua Kando, and I think he is as raw as they get when it comes to defensive end. I'd be very surprised. Obviously, at this point, you and I probably thinking the same thing. We should have kept Tano Passanha.
Yes.
Yes. And that's a guy you and I both like. And we're in this situation right now where I'm scared for the Chiefs' pass rush and what's going to happen going forward throughout this season. Because if the pass rush is not there, these young corners are going to have a problem. And obviously, we want to see Ladarius Sneed step up and capitalize off of a great rookie year. Tre'Davious Ward has obviously had ups and downs. Obviously, we've seen him make some plays, but he's also still our starter. You know what I mean? I want to see basically this defense flourish because I don't want to see a repeat of 2018. I don't want to see Patrick Mahomes out there having to put up 50 points a game to feel like he's comfortable in that situation because the offense, you guys, I mean, we're locked and loaded. We're good. It's going to be great.
Fine.
The offensive line looks as good as ever. The running game is going to be great with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the Fresh Prince. And we got a situation where even though Sammy Watkins is gone, still got Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman going into year 3, and then Cornell Powell, rookie receiver from Clemson. I think we'll get plenty of playing time as well. And then let's just hope Demarcus Robinson can pick it up as well as Byron Pringle. But I want to ask you guys real quick, have the Chiefs done enough, or should they look into acquiring someone else? Because Melvin Ingram is now off the table. Melvin Ingram has now been signed by the Pittsburgh Steelers. That defensive end, who could have been a presence for this team, is gone. Justin Houston is still available. Mm-hmm. I would love to have Justin Houston on this team. I don't know what's going to take, but Tanner, what's your thoughts on this current state of Frank Clark, and is Alex Okafor enough?
I think Okafor is enough. I think he's enough for this defensive line, and it's because of the depth we have and we provided on this one, right? So potentially Frank Clark, if he does go out, it could be at any point of the season, remind you too. NFL, they could do an investigation. It could be about mid-season, and he could be suspended for 2 games off the bat. We got to remember this part. But I love the depth that we have because there's a guy you forgot about, Jaron Reed, the guy we signed from Seattle. Okay? This guy is Chris Jones-like almost. And the guy is coming in here to produce a run stopping. And if we need to bounce him outside, that's fine. Because we got Noddy right there. Noddy is going to be able to step in as
Tanner,
well.
We know Chris Jones is going to play outside a little bit, right?
He's going to play outside.
Do you think Jaron Reed could also play outside?
I think he could. I think he could be a force outside as well.
Okay.
I think too, with the depth that the Chiefs have and Spags with the schemes and stuff, you're going to see a possibility of a whole bunch of different combinations on that.
Speaking of line. Forgotten about, Deshaun Wharton could actually be an outside edge rusher.
That's another guy who's
going to undersized D tackle.
Because we forgot all about Wharton.
I mean, make him lose 5 to 10 pounds. He's got the speed.
Look at Spags sitting back, looking at this depth of the line. He goes, "Oh, Frank Clark's out a game or 2. Well, that's a shame. Let me mix this all up." And can you imagine a left tackle lining up against a Wharton or a Reed style with big guy Noddy in the middle and maybe a Noddy Wharton in the middle, and then Chris Jones on the other side? Like, that's still a force to be reckoned with.
Let me say this real quick, guys. Deshaun Wharton, 6'4", 256 pounds. That's the same size as Frank Clark.
Yes.
So he's not a traditional D tackle.
No.
This might be the secret surprise for the Chiefs DN situation that they believe in him to play the edge.
So it was Deshaun Wharton, because he was the guy I was going to bring up as well. Mm-hmm. This guy has come into is going to be going into camp. He came into mini camps way better shape, a lot more speed, a little bit more built, not as I want to say big in the belly, but more built. So this guy has obviously improved his body, his performance. He's worked on it. There's no reason why this guy can't come around and be even more effective this year. Deshaun Wharton is your answer. Okafor is great for depth. Okafor is great for a vet leadership presence as well on that side if Frank Clark does go out for an extended time. But I'm not worried about this, guys. We got depth on that line. I'm not looking at Dana to do really anything. I'm not looking at Okafor to be a monster. I'm looking at guys such as Wharton. I'm looking at guys such as Reed. And I'm looking at guys such as Jones to just step up and ease up on this depth guy, on this depth, so there's not so much pressure on those corners. So I think Deshaun Wharton is going to be our answer in the end. But what's up to see how training camp rolls and how preseason rolls?
Right. So to answer your question, Mike, no, I don't believe the Chiefs have done enough. I appreciate the addition of Alex Okafor, but I agree with you in the fact that we need to do everything we can to try to obtain Justin Houston. Alex Okafor, he's great for depth. He's only 30 years old. He's already got experience on this D-line under Steve Spagnuolo. Only played 11 games last season due to a hamstring. But I love the addition of him just for depth. But as far as Frank Clark is concerned, okay, we all know that he's got to be productive this year or we're going to cut his ass. He's got to explode. He's got to have an amazing career year or he's probably going to get cut. But I do want to play a little bit of a game with you guys right now. And so what happened with Frank Clark is that he got caught with an Uzi, which is a submachine gun that fires 950 rounds per minute. And so right now I am going to make you guys the judge, right? And I'm going to set the over-under at 2 games suspension because that's probably where I think he's going to be at. He's going to get suspended for 2 games. So you guys going to go over or under that? If you're the judge and you have to, if you're the judge of the NFL, if you're Roger Goodell,
can I just say 2 games is the right amount? I agree with the 2 games. I agree with 2 games. I don't think you need to go over. I'd say under would be, I don't know. Let's say it's not as enforcing of it, but I think if you do 2 games, I think it's just right.
Yeah, I think 2 games is correct. I think at the end of the day, NFL is going to look at this and they hate having their image affected.
Correct.
And at the end of the day, that's what they're going to care about the most. Does this really affect their image more than a guy using PEDs? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of similar to me as far as what the way they view things.
The long telltale.
I'm not talking about what's actually bad or what's worse, but I think that they're scared about how they look, and I think 2 games is correct. I think we'll see ultimately a 1-game suspension.
Well, I think when you're talking about their image, how many games did Ray Rice get for his bullshit? He only got what, like 4 games or something like that, or how many games did he get? If you can remember,
I'd have to check back into the Ray Rice.
If you're talking about tarnishing the image of the NFL, that's the standard.
But they Ray Rice did that when he was in the prime of his career. Yeah. And it's hard for them to also completely wipe out a guy who's a star at that time and a face of the league as well, because they don't want to eliminate great players unless they have an injury. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's hard for them to also do the same thing too. So I think at the end of the day, though, 2 games probably is going to be falling under the fair margin there, but it's a matter of when. And as I told you guys a little bit ago, this KC lawyer, Ellen Mathis, believes he'll play every game this whole season because the court process is going to take so long for this to play out that he'll play every game, and there will be no ruling until sometime in 2022. And so let's hope that's not somewhere around Super Bowl weekend. You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing, Frank Clark, he's owed $18.5 million this season, and the Chiefs obviously signed him to a big contract, and he's played two seasons with the Chiefs. 2019 had 8 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. 2020 had 6 sacks, no forced fumbles. This is not the kind of guy you want to have as your pass rusher you rely on. You know what I mean? These are numbers that, as you talked about, Jason, Justin Houston had 8 sacks last year with the Colts. And that was obviously a guy who's really, for the most part, besides smoking a little weed here and there, had any trouble at all with the league. And we're dealing with Frank Clark, who has notoriously been kicked off of campus at times in school, had problems in Seattle, and now is having problems in KC as well. I just don't think this is a guy that really is going to last much longer with this team, and they're going to find a way to terminate his contract at some point. I don't know when or how it's going to go about, but besides that, the playoffs, obviously in 2019, he was very productive, but he's not given the Chiefs what they need as a pass rusher of being reliable, game in, game out. He disappears for weeks at a time, and that's a guy we don't need to be paying that kind of money to. And so I don't like the future of him and KC.
Who's been on the other side, though, of Frank Clark? Who's been on the other side?
I don't know, but we've had a few, what?
Alan Bailey?
Right.
Passanio?
Not Alan Bailey. He's already gone.
Look, you don't have a Chris Jones on the other side. You now got Chris Jones sitting across. Who are you going to double team?
But would you also disagree with this? Frank Clark is a lazy player.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think he's a lazy player?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think it takes plays off.
Right quick, let me give you my psychoanalysis of Frank Clark.
Oh,
okay?
boy. Here we go. Gear up.
I'm just going to throw it out there. Frank Clark last year had a Super Bowl hangover, right? So just take any player, whatever player you want to throw out there besides Tom Brady. When you get a ring, when you get a championship, what's the most likely thing that can happen? You're going to have a Super Bowl hangover. So to me, if I'm psychoanalyzing Frank Clark, I mean, he probably just shit his pants last year and didn't give a fuck. But now what happened? Now all of a sudden you got caught with an Uzi in your fucking vehicle, and now you might get suspended. So now all of a sudden I think he's going to have something to prove going into this year. I mean, he knows the Chiefs are going to cut his ass unless he fucking has an amazing year. So I think you could see a little bit more out of Frank Clark this year than you might expect.
Interesting.
All I could think is that if you put Tom Bahali's brain and heart into Frank Clark, then you're going to have 15 sacks a year. And Frank Clark's not that kind of guy.
Look, we're going to see a different Frank Clark this year, mainly because of Chris Jones on the other side. We had added some depth in the defensive tackle position, so we're not going to miss Jones as much.
I believe in Chris Jones. At least Chris Jones has passion for the game.
I think
I don't know if Frank Clark does.
I like Frank Clark, and I like watching him play, and I do watch him play. I think the guy will be effective this year, unlike last year. I think last year he was double teamed a lot, and there was just so much on his side. Nobody was doing the other side, and we didn't have a rush on the other side. So let's give it this year, because Chris Jones on the other side is going to cause a lot of offenses to have to decide. You can do Frank Clark or Chris Jones. Guess what? I'm probably going to go Chris Jones right now. That should leave it open for
Chris
Frank.
Jones will end up with more sacks than Frank Clark because Chris Jones is relentless.
Because Chris Jones will probably do that anyways, regardless.
I'm telling you right now, with what's going on with Frank Clark right now, I mean, he's got two options, up or down. He's either going to shit the bed or he's going to have an amazing year. I don't think it's just going to be a mediocre type thing where he just kind of slightly underachieves or slightly overachieves.
So you say, no, the Chiefs have not answered the Frank Clark situation.
I think that they should answer with something else. I think Okafor was not the right answer. I think Justin Houston would be a better answer. But if they leave it as it is, I think Tershawn Wharton can produce if used correctly. That is my answer on that.
It's not enough for me because you have to allow for injuries. I mean, you look at the New England Patriots, what do they do every fucking year? They have 5 or 6 fucking running backs on their roster because they know one of the motherfuckers are going to get injured.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm looking. That's how I look at the Chiefs defensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have a rotation because one of those fucks is going to get injured.
It's not easy finding pass rushers either. The NFL, that is the most scarce, I think, position of all is pure pass rushers who can get to the quarterback consistently and pressure the quarterback. It's hard to find those guys. When you find them, you can't let them go.
I think with the depth Spags has, I think we've answered it. We actually had to probably answer to it beforehand, but I like what Spags. I want to give Spags and Andy a chance to see what they can do with that depth because there is a lot of potential there and a lot of different schemes they can work.
All right, guys, we'll see how this unfolds as time goes on a little bit further.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it later on in August here. So.
Looking forward to seeing how really, when training camp opens up, they're going to have their initial day one depth chart, right? And so I'm curious, obviously they're going to have Frank over there at DN, Chris Jones at DN, but after that, who's going to be put at DE? Is Wharton now a DE? I don't know, because with the addition of adding Jerron Reed in there, and obviously already having Derek Nottie, but then having more depth in there at defensive tackle as well, then I think they could be set at D tackle right now, but with the flexibility of having Chris Jones move inside if they need him to. So that is something to watch out for as camp unfolds and the battles unfold, and we'll be watching that closely as we get closer here to Tanner. Is it July 27th?
July 27th. So Sunday, guys. Sunday, July 25th. Rookies report. July 27th, everybody else shows up. And that is pretty much almost the entire league. So, guys, we're here. It's time.
It's football season. All right. Speaking of that, you guys, let's do it. We've been doing our countdown, basically, leading up to the beginning of week 1. We're doing a weekly divisional breakdown, where we've already gone over, Tanner, the NFC
North,
East, and North.
Yep.
Today we're hitting on the NFC South. And even our thoughts on what's going to happen in that division. Start it off real quick, guys. Let's go Panthers as our first team for the NFC South that we're going to discuss. Last year, we went 5-11. Sam Darnold is now their quarterback coming over from the Jets. I'm a little bit worried about that. I don't know how that's going to work out for him. He's also in a revival kind of a season to where he could potentially, coming from obviously the Jets, we all kind of consider to be a bottom 3 team in the league.
Yeah.
But he's coming over from that situation. Last season, they were 24th in points per game. And my biggest problem right now is that it's not that they just have, Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, which I like both those guys. They drafted Terrace Marshall from LSU. I like him as well. Tanner, their left tackle's Cameron Irving. I mean, we're putting Sam Darnold, who's still trying to mature, by the way, with Cameron Irving as his left tackle. This is going to be a disaster all the way.
Did they re-sign Moton, or is he right tackle? Taylor Moton?
Taylor Moton's a right tackle.
Okay.
Yes. So their left is Cameron Irving.
Oh, Lord.
And it's going to be a disaster. I mean, I don't know what they're thinking with this because we all, as Chiefs fans, know about this. Their tight ends are going to be a disaster. They got Dan Arnold. They got Ian Thomas. That's fine. Christian McCaffrey, obviously, last year was some injury concerned. He's back. They're going to be running the ball, hopefully well. We'll see how that goes with McCaffrey. Now, I'm not, going to bash their offense too much. It's like they have something to work with, but it's not going to be great. Let's be honest. Their defense, though, they did add some pieces to their defense, without a doubt. Right. And so they added Hassan Reddick, Denzel Perryman, and then drafted J.C. Horn. I like this. This is Joe Horn's, is it his son, Tanner? Is that right?
Correct.
That is right. So I think this is actually a team that has some talent on defense, but their offense is going to have a lot to, wish more for. For me, I got the Panthers finishing at 7-10 on the season. What do you guys got?
Yeah.
Ooh. I like that pick there, Mike. So the Panthers are plus 1,000 to win the division, which means it's not going to fucking happen. But I agree with you. I like their additions that they made on defense, although I'm not convinced that they're going to be able to generate consistent pressure on the quarterback. The most interesting thing for me, besides the return of Christian McCaffrey, is I want to see what that reunion looks like between Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson. I think those two are going to put up some numbers. I think they're going to have some chemistry. But as far as my prediction, I'm going to go 9-8. I think they are going to have a winning record, but I just don't. I think they got a little bit more work to do on the offense and the defensive side of the ball.
Is this a playoff team?
Oh, fuck no.
Okay.
No.
Fuck no.
Nah, so the Panthers, guys, 5-11 last year, missed the playoffs, third in the division. Like Mike said, added Terrence Marshall, J.C. Horn, and running back Chuba Hubbard. I just like the name, so I had to say that. And then, of course, Sam Darnold via trade from the Jets. And then gone. Who left the team? Teddy Bridgewater to the Broncos. And defensive tackle Kawan Short, who I thought was pretty good depth for them. So that's a kind of a issue on that side still for depth-wise, but I think they'll be all right. Keys to success for this year for the Panthers. Sam Darnold has to have a breakout year. Obviously, Cam Irving at left tackle scares the hell out of me for him. But he needs to have a breakout year this year. He's in a much better system, a much better team to be able to actually do this. He has, of course, the running back positions are already better by itself with McCaffrey. So that's a huge key there. So Sam Darnold has a breakout year. Christian McCaffrey needs to be healthy the entire season to help these guys, and the defensive line needs to cause disruption for this cornerback, the secondary squad, and in the Panthers. So giving J.C. Horn that chance to provide some playmaking tools. My prediction for the Panthers is a 7-10 season as well.
7-10. We're both on the same page here, Tanner.
Yep.
Let's move on to the Atlanta Falcons now, who finished off 4-12 last season. Obviously lost Julio Jones to the Titans now. Calvin Ridley takes over as their WR1. Good for him. Ridley is a solid player. I like him a lot, obviously. They drafted tight end Kyle Pitts from Florida. Great draft. I think that was 6 overall. Is that right, Tanner?
6 overall.
I think so. Now, Mike Davis is now their starting running back. I want to see how that plays out. Obviously, kind of a little swap coming from Carolina, as we just talked about. Mike Davis has had some good, productive games without Christian McCaffrey in the lineup over in Carolina. So coming over now to Atlanta, we'll see if he can produce that as well with the new team. I don't know if that's going to be the case. It's hard to say. Cordell Patterson also, if you notice, Tanner,
running back,
is now a running back officially, because we realized as a receiver he sucked. So, he's always been one of those guys. He's been in the league now forever, it seems like.
Special teams.
And he's just been a return guy, played receiver, played some running back, and now the Falcons are looking at him as kind of, I think they're Dexter McCluster of all things, if I'm going to put it in some kind of fashion.
That's fair.
To where he's going to be used as a running back / receiver, and we'll see how that plays out. But I think this team has regressed. Absolutely. I don't think this is a team on the right path whatsoever, because Matt Ryan is still at the helm, and not because Matt Ryan's still at the helm, but because this team is regressing with Matt Ryan. And so Matt Ryan now getting older, you would think at that situation, you're like, wow, I want to get out and go to a team with more talent. And instead he's stuck. He's stuck in this situation where he's not going to be given an opportunity like a Matthew Stafford has been going to the Rams. Instead, he's in a situation where he's seeing his team kind of, talent-wise implode. And I think that I do like guys like Russell Gage over there.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's shown himself to be a good player. And their third guy is Christian Blake. It's a lot that you wish you had a little bit more of, for sure. Losing Julio Jones is going to hurt without a doubt. Kyle Pitts is going to get a lot of targets in this offense, without a doubt. But, when I look at this whole team top to bottom, the defense is not good whatsoever. They got Dante Fowler Jr., who's been injury prone. Deion Jones is great. After that, what are we working with here? I see a lot
Mingo was added.
Sure, that's fine.
Something.
I don't know what to think of that, because he's also a guy who's not lived up to his name as time's progressed in the NFL seasons, as that we've seen him. AJ Terrell, that's fine, whatever. But defensively, this is probably a bottom 6 team defensively.
Man, I'd say bottom 4.
I think offensively, we're looking at Matt Ryan getting shipped out pretty soon. And he's not going to enjoy this season. He's going to have a rough time, and it's not going to be pretty. The Falcons are not a team I want to be a part of watching this whole season. I like Ridley, but it's not enough. Falcons are 4-13 for me.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. You said when you're talking about the Falcons, you said, what are we looking at here? Well, I can tell you what we're looking at. We're looking at dog shit. And my opinion is that Matt Ryan and the Falcons, they're all going to die a slow death together. It's kind of like before the Atlanta Hawks got Trae Young. What do we talk about? NBA players that used to go to the Atlanta Hawks. That's where NBA players go to die. Well, the Atlanta Falcons are getting ready to die a slow death.
Yep.
And for me, it starts with their secondary. I think they're going to have a shitty-ass secondary this year. I do like the tight end duo that they're going to have with Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst. They're going to be running a lot of 2 tight end sets. But for me, that's the only bright spot for this team, because Calvin Ridley, he had actually some minor foot surgery in June. So just last month, they say he's going to be okay for training camp. So to me, Calvin Ridley is going to be a question mark. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here. They're plus 800 to win the division. That's not going to happen. I'll say 5-12 for the Falcons, just based on, the fact that they might give you a little bit of offense here and there. But, they're probably going to be worse than that. But I will say 5-12.
5-12. I like it. Atlanta Falcons, they were 4-12 last year, last in the division. Obviously, we knew them for blowing multiple leads in the fourth quarter last year. They were very good at that. Some key adds there. Tight end Kyle Pitts, like we talked about, rookie. Guard Jalen Mayfield. Wide receiver Tajay Sharp, maybe. Running back Mike Davis, who's going to be the starter. And linebacker Barvarius Mingo.
That's a bad list.
That's your key.
Sharp?
That's your key ads for the Falcons, for Lord's
Tajay
sake.
Sharp.
Guys,
Wow.
And that's a stretch.
Do you realize the Chiefs had Tajay Sharp on their roster at 1.2?
Yeah.
And he was cut within like a week.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, this is not an addition, Tanner. I'm sorry. But it's not gonna
I'm
work
just saying
out.
that's a stretch for key ads, right?
Right, exactly. I know.
And that's the moves they made. And then your drops you had, of course, well, your people that are gone, more like it. Julio Jones traded the Titans. Running back Ito Smith is gone, and defensive end Alan Bailey is no longer with them either. Which is kind of surprising for that kind of defense, but whatever. Key success, guys. The Falcons defense can't blow these fourth quarter leads if they get them. if they even have them. The defense has to be better, plain and simple. But the biggest key to this for their success this year is it all falls on Matt Ryan's shoulders. You don't have the weapons like you've had in the past. You don't have your Julio Jones savior there. You got guys that are pretty much unproven outside of Calvin Ridley. You have Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts at tight end. You better figure something out here. So it's going to be elite play by Matt Ryan. He has to play on an above level than his Super Bowl run. He has to be beyond that, and that's going to be really tough for him. That even the offensive lines are up for them. So my projection for the Atlanta Falcons is 6-11 this year, just based on their schedule. I think there are worse teams that they're going to face than the Falcons, and they will split a couple division games. But I think 6-11 this year for the Falcons.
So right quick. So we all agree that the Falcons are probably rebuilding at this point. So would you guys?
I wouldn't even say rebuilding.
It's not even rebuilding yet.
It's just awful.
But would you guys make a move? Would you make a move for like Jordan Love?
I would trade Matt Ryan right away. I would help him and help myself at the same time, because there's probably a team out there that would take Matt Ryan. It's already got a quality roster. And this is just going to waste a year of his career. And not that I'm saying he's anything special, but it's also not fair to him. It's awful. He's going to be bad.
What you're saying? No, I would not. I would not be afraid to make moves on this team. Somebody wants somebody that's been around for a while. Give me a good deal.
Sell the farm.
You can have it. You can have it.
Keep your Kyle Pitts, obviously, of the world and those kind of guys. But the rest of it, keep your Ridleys, keep your Kyle Pitts, whatever. But the rest of it, sell the farm. Let's get rid of that. It's a bad roster. I'm sorry, you guys. So Mike says 4 wins. Jason says 5. Tanner says 6. All right, guys, let's move on to the New Orleans Saints now, our division winner of the NFC South.
Yes.
Who went 12-4 last season. This is going to be very interesting, you guys, watching how this unfolds without Drew Brees for the first time in a full season, really since, 2006? Is that right? Hurricane Katrina time?
06?
Something along those lines?
Yeah, wow.
I think that sounds about right. So watching this unfold is going to be very interesting. And rather than me sitting here talking, I actually have questions for you guys on this one. 1 or 2. Do you guys believe in who's going to get more snaps at quarterback, Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill? Tanner, you go.
Jameis Winston.
What do we got?
It's Jameis all the way.
Jameis at more quarterback, even though Taysom Hill went 3-1 as a starter last season.
Nope. Jameis.
Still Jameis. Okay. Now, do you think that also the Saints offense is going to help revive Jameis? Because Jameis had, obviously, as we know, a great offense at Tampa Bay and failed going 30-for-30.
Yes. He had corrective eye surgery or whatever. So, He should be better.
Interesting. So, my question then is this. How does this team win? Because this team is going to still use Taysom Hill in this offense in some kind of way every single game. And so they used him with Drew Brees. So, of course, they're going to use him with Jameis Winston even more. This is not going to be a thing where, we'll just leave Taysom on the sideline. No, they paid him money. They paid Taysom Hill good money to be a part of this offense. He's not just going to sit there and do nothing. And so I don't know where he's going to come into play, but I think that it's going to be interesting to see how that situation unfolds and who the hot hand is. And maybe Sean Payton can dial up some things to where they're going to get wild. Every game might not know he's going to be a starter.
I honestly think you're going to have to work him in like you did with Drew Brees last year, where you're going to have set to just Taysom for a while without even running the ball, but actually passing the ball. So I think there's going to be a lot more sets mixed in. I'm not saying it's going to be like a 90-10 split, right? I'm talking about like maybe a 60-40.
That sounds right to me.
I'm thinking a 60-40 split, and the defense is going to have a tough spot.
I think so too, because here's the thing, Jason. If Winston starts throwing interceptions right away, Peyton's going to start going, no, that's not going to fly.
That could even
Taysom
switch.
Hill, obviously, as we know, is more of a ball control style. He's a running quarterback, as we all know. But he's also not going to throw a bunch of picks. He's going to make easy reads, one read kind of plays, where Winston could get out there, as we know, Mr. 30-for-30, throwing picks. If that's the case, he's pulled. It's not going to work out very well. Going into the next game after that, following that bad game from Winston, Hill's going to get the start right away. I believe this is a full-fledged competition without a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they're going to go with the hot hand. Whoever's playing better in camp, whoever's playing better in the games is going to get more snaps. And so for me, one more thing, you guys, can Winston revive his career? Is this his chance to revive his career? Because at this point, he's had success early on. We thought, he had a great rookie season after the crab legs and all that kind of thing. He's had moments of looking great, but is he honestly, I'm gonna be serious. Is he too dumb to be a successful NFL quarterback?
Nope, not at all. You got one guy there, that one guy only, Sean Payton, QB whisper. The guy is going to help with Jameis out, and of course, he'll have Drew Brees in the back pocket.
Help the footwork, help the mentality, I hope, and go from there, I think. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, anyways, my prediction is 9-8 for the Saints this year. What do you guys got?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say Jameis is too dumb. I mean, we're not talking about the Milwaukee Bucks when Kendrick Perkins called them the dumbest team in NBA Finals history. But no, I wouldn't call him dumb. I mean, but you do have the concern there about the eye surgery that he had. And so that's kind of a coin toss. We don't know how he's going to respond to that. I mean, I do believe that he will be the starter. I mean, Taysom Hill, he's going to be 31 years old when the season starts. And I think Sean Payton, whatever turnover issues that Jameis Winston had when he was on the Buccaneers, I mean, to me, that was a shitty-ass roster. I mean, Jameis Winston is going to do better. I do believe that with Sean Payton, being an offensive genius, I do think that Winston is going to correct his turnover issues, providing that his eyesight was corrected. And so I don't believe in this 60-40 bullshit that you suggested, Tanner. I think it's going to be more like 80-20. And honestly, there's always the chance that Jameis could shit the bed. But at that point, it won't be 60-40. I mean, Taysom Hill will be a full-fledged starter at that point.
But Jason, you also just said that the Bucs 2019 roster was shitty. And we know that's not the case. They had the best run defense in the league, and they still had Mike Evans running the show.
It wasn't shitty. I'm just saying,
Godwin.
like, he had he had problems with his eyes, allegedly.
Okay, so it's a Winston problem. The roster itself, we saw Tom Brady take that and make it blow up. So
yeah, the roster.
I just want to clarify that a little bit.
That's fine. The roster was fine. I'm just saying I'm not ready to throw Jameis under the bus just yet. I mean, yeah, we know about his turnover history, but we got to give the guy a chance here. I mean, I think there's some talent there. We just got to wait and see, if his eyes have been corrected or not. And if they're not, then of course, Taysom Hill is going to be your fucking every week starter.
All right. What's your
So
prediction?
I'm going to go with their plus 300. I mean, I actually like that bet. I would make that bet right now. I'm going to go Saints 10-7. I don't have them winning the division, but it wouldn't shock me if they did win the division. I'm going to go 10-7.
All right. So New Orleans Saints guys last year 12-4, first in division, like we talked about, ended up losing to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right, in the playoffs.
Right. Correct.
Yeah, unfortunate right there. So they had some key ads of linebacker Shaq Smith came from the Dolphins, Quan Alexander, and of course our boy defensive Tano Passanio. Emmanuel Sanders and Drew Brees are both gone from that team. I don't know if you guys knew that Emmanuel Sanders is gone. So
that's fine.
That should be interesting where he lands up. Key success. Figure out this QB carousel you're going on, right? Is it going to be Jameis? Is it going to be Taysom? We'll figure it out more on camp. Obviously, Sean Payton's got some hard stuff to figure out here. I think a big key, no matter who is quarterback, your big key here is a healthy Mike Thomas. Mike Thomas has to be healthy this year. You need him in the lineup. It can't be a Kamara show again this year. It has to be a healthy Mike Thomas. Mike Thomas is in, you got a chance to have a hell of a year, especially if no matter who's at quarterback. And then also the defense. The defense is going to have to carry some of these games because Jameis is not elite. Taysom is not elite. These are two not elite quarterbacks, and you're going to have some games that you're going to need to carry that. The defense need to carry that team. And when I mean carry that team, I mean putting pressure on the quarterback and get some turnovers going. So Personally, I'm not a big fan of New Orleans right now. I just think there's too much change going on at the quarterback scene and too much question if they can maintain being healthy throughout the year. So I'm going to go 9-8 along with Mike here for the New Orleans Saints.
Nice. I think it's going to be a run-first offense this year, actually, in a lot of ways, with the obviously Latavius Murray and the additions of Ty Montgomery as well. So
yes, I forgot Ty Montgomery.
Let's think about that. But Buccaneers moving on here to our Super Bowl champions. The whole team is back. This is going to be very simple for me to go over.
There's not very many things that happened.
Not a whole lot to talk about. The whole team is back.
They added Giovanni Bernard, guys.
Who
you like that guy?
Giovanni Retard? Is that what
Giovanni Bernard?
I don't like or dislike him. He's fine.
All right. Well, obviously they still have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Antonio Brown is back for a full season now. Rob Gronkowski.
Yep.
The Ronald Jones is still my boy, as you guys knew last year when it came to fantasy.
There.
Defense still looks stacked. This team, to me, is 15-2.
Wow. All right, Jason.
Well, the Bucks are plus 170, and I've got them going 11-6. I'll just throw it out there right now. I do think that they will win the division. Got everyone back. You got basically 3 starting tight ends now. Now that you got OJ Howard back, like the fact that they drafted that rookie edge rusher in the first round to go alongside Shaq Barrett and JPP. So I love the defensive line, and I think they should be the favorite to win this division. But I'm going to go 11-6 here.
All right. Well, obviously there's not much to talk about for Tampa Bay. Like Mike said, everything happened. They were 11-5, second in the division. They won the Super Bowl, as we all saw. No real value lost, obviously, because they re-signed everybody. I think the keys to success for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, keep Blaine Gabbert out of that quarterback spot. Okay? Keep Blaine Gabbert out. That means protect Tom Brady at all costs. Protect Tom Brady. Let Tom Brady do Tom Brady things. You do that, you'll be fine. I think 12-5 and first place in the division.
Nice. You guys kind of both have a regression, actually, based on your numbers.
Well, look, I looked at the schedule, and there are some key games that I could see Tom losing potentially, like a Buffalo game. I could see him not performing too hot, and there was a couple other games, and I think he'll split with the Saints in the division and probably lose one of these dumb Carolina Falcons games just because that's how he does every year.
So, yeah, I mean, I had him at 11-6 simply because, what do we do when we talk about champions? Do they really give a shit about the regular season? No.
That's what I'm saying. Like you're going to have some moments that you're just going to lose.
Yeah.
Well, the regular season in NBA
Brady.
terms, Jason, means nothing, as we all know. In the NFL, it does mean a lot.
Well, what was he last year, Tom Brady?
12-4. He also
12-4.
lost the division to the Saints.
I mean, he could be 11-6 this year and still go back to the Super Bowl. I mean, I understand the record matters, but I mean, they're not going to give a shit if they play half-assed through the regular season. They're going to show up when it's crunch time.
Yeah, I like this team top to bottom. There's no flaws really for the most part. I mean, we could nitpick a few things, but otherwise, I don't want to spend time on it really.
No.
This is a good team. They should be in contention once again for the NFC Championship game without a doubt.
It'll be kind of interesting to see if the Saints can pull off a wild card this year. I think that's going to be the most interesting thing.
Those two teams will be fun to watch. And I think the Panthers might be fun to watch too.
Yeah,
Falcons.
potentially.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening to our NFC South breakdown. We'll keep track of our records as time goes on and going throughout the year and see what we think and adjust maybe a little bit of some of our thoughts. But let's move on to our tight end rankings for fantasy football, you guys. This is our second segment now of fantasy. Thank goodness we were talking about fantasy once again. And we're trying to ease you guys in a little bit. We're not trying to go full-fledged into this to where we're just throwing fantasy at you all at once.
I mean, Camp hasn't even started, guys.
We're going to have a lot to talk about here in the coming weeks, without a doubt. But we're going to talk about tight ends today, not talking about the girls I saw at Twin Peaks, but more talking about some of the football players we've been seeing in the past few years. And so, obviously, my favorite tight end of all time.
George Kittle?
Oh, yeah, I love George Kittle.
Okay, that's right.
Thank you. I was not going to talk about Jennifer Lopez, but let's go ahead and talk about some Travis Kelce.
I wasn't talking about play either.
Oh, whoa. All right. Well, if you want to go, I mean, it's 2021, man. Shoot your shot. So do what you do. So Travis Kelce is our number one tight end on ADP rankings right now, coming in at 12.8 on the ADP list. And so that basically means if you're in a 12-team league, as we are, he is coming in just at the very tip of the second round. So
that's what she said.
Yeah, just the tip, Tanner. And so at this point, I think that's a perfect ranking for Travis Kelce. So we're going to play a little game here. We're going to play overvalued or undervalued or just right. And so for me, Travis Kelce is just right. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'd say just right as well. I think Travis Kelce, whatever you want to call him, is the best tight end in the league. And he's proven it year in, year out. And you got a healthy Patrick Mahomes with the offensive line coming into play. Yeah, Travis Kelce, top of your tight end list. Get him if you can.
Yeah, I'm going to go overrated here. And a lot of this is just because I don't like drafting a tight end at 12.8. So that's where his ADP is at right now. I'm not going to shoot for a tight end at the 12th overall pick. I mean, I know he went for 1,400 yards and 11 touchdowns last year, but I'm going to go overrated. I think he will slightly regress, just slightly. I still think he'll be the number one in fantasy, but he'll go down a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. After that, we have George Kittle coming at 25.7 on the ADP list. And obviously, with some of the additions, coming back with the 49ers, they're going to have a healthier team once again after missing, I think, 20-something guys on injured reserve overall in that whole team. I think it's going to help Kittle a lot throughout this season. I think he is still a top-notch tight end, great athlete, and can do it all. More of a straight line tight end, if I can say that in some kind of ways, to where maybe not as good of a route runner as Travis, but he's got more straight line speed and physical ability that way. I think 25.7 is just right for Kittle.
Yeah, I'd say I agree with you there, Mike, too. I think it's right on. George Kittle, obviously, he's going to be a weapon no matter who's the quarterback, if it's Jimmy or potentially somebody else. I keep that in mind on the health of Jimmy, as he always seems to get injured. So, but I think George Kittle can be a weapon. I'd say 25, right around that range, is perfect.
I agree. I think he's properly rated here. Obviously injured last year. I think he could actually overachieve that ADP of 25. So I'm going to go with properly rated here for George Kittle.
Next, we have Darren Waller coming in at 34.4 from the Oakland Raiders. I said Oakland Raiders. I'm a little behind, Tanner. The Las Vegas Raiders. I think that Waller obviously proved himself last year as a tight end. Keep in mind, this guy was actually a wide receiver at Georgia Tech just a few years ago. And they're transitioning after, obviously he's a bigger bodied guy. Made more sense. So I think Waller, honestly, coming in at third right here on this list at 34 is actually perfect. So I like him at 3.
Yeah, I'd say he's right on, too. Darren Waller, who had a great season last year, was a fantasy effective as well. I'd say he continues to streak with Derek Carr, and he'll have another big year with him.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's properly rated at 34. He actually had about the same amount of targets as Travis Kelce last year, 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns. And I think he could easily overachieve that. So I think you might get a little bit of value there. But I think he's properly rated.
After that, coming in fourth here, we have Mark Andrews from the Baltimore Ravens coming in at 49 flat, I think, is his ADP currently, which basically in a 12-team league would put him at the top of the 5th round. And so with this pick, I'm not a big fan of it. I think that he kind of proved that a little bit. 2019 had a big season with touchdowns, regressed a little bit this last year. I think Mark Andrews is a product of the system. I don't think he's anything special whatsoever as a player. I think there's guys down this list, as I'm going to name off, that are going to be better. I think Andrews is definitely overrated, especially with the acquisitions of Sammy Watkins and Rashaad Bateman to that offense. Nick Boyle will also steal reps. Andrews, do not draft him as your 4th tight end on this list.
I agree. Overrated for sure. They're the next 3 in. I'd rather take ahead of Andrews. I did have him last year personally, and I know his effectiveness. So Andrews, it's not a Lamar Jackson thing, guys. It's just there's more weapons on the wideouts right now. All right. The Andrews also has to stay healthy. Again, health comes into play. Mm-hmm. I'd say overrated for Andrews, and we'll name off the next 3 guys that should be ahead of him.
Yeah, so I agree. Mark Andrews is definitely overrated at an ADP of 49. I just think for me, they know what you're going to do. They know you're going to try to throw it to Mark Andrews every fucking time. In the defenses. And so they're going to get smart to that. I mean, he had 58 receptions last year, which is only 5 more than Mike Gesicki. So that's not that big of a difference there. So go out and draft Mike Gesicki much later in your draft and don't spend a high pick on Mark Andrews at 49 ADP.
Yep, I think we all agree on that. TJ Hawkinson from the Detroit Lions now comes in as our 5th tight end on the list, which is very interesting because Hawkinson still has a lot to prove. Coming in, obviously, as an early pick, I think, from Iowa. Is that right, Tanner? Is that
correct.
Where he came from?
Correct.
And so it came out as 50 right here, just 1 spot barely below Andrews on the ADP. I think Hawkinson is a good player. I think he's still coming in. He's coming into year 3 now, and his progression as time's gone on has been great. My biggest problem is you removed Matt Stafford. Now you got Jared Goff, but that team lacks a lot of weapons. And this is not so much of a justification for Hawkinson being at 5 on the tight end list, but more so that they're not going to have a lot of options to base off of. You know what I mean? It's not going to add up for anyone else to get a lot of reps, where Hawkinson should see the field pretty much every play. And so Hawkinson here at 50 is actually perfect to me as the 5th tight end.
Yeah, actually, I'll take Hawkinson right where he is. I just think with Goff, he's going to need some kind of safety net, and Hawkinson's going to be the guy.
It's a snap share thing.
He's a big old guy, big tight end guy, and he's going to be the one available for that pass. So I like Hawkinson where he's at. 50 is right around where I would take him as well. So I agree.
Yeah, I'm going to go with overrated here. And I understand what you're saying about Goff. You know, he's going to want to check it down and throw it to him a lot, but I just don't trust this guy. I mean, he was fucking injured like all year last year, so I don't know about his health. And as from a fantasy perspective, I just don't trust him. So I'm going to go overrated here.
Yeah. After that, we got coming in at number 6, Kyle Pitts at 56.4 on the ADP list. This is an interesting one, you guys. This Kyle Pitts is obviously a very special receiving tight end. I think he's drafted the highest since Vernon Davis, actually back in like 2005, 2004, something like that.
I think.
Somewhere where Vernon Davis was taken. And Pitts obviously has been shown to be a playmaker. He's going to be on the field pretty much every snap. It'll be the best weapon Matt Ryan's had at tight end since Tony Gonzalez left, without a doubt. And they're lacking weapons after Calvin Ridley as well. I think this is a great spot, but I'm also going to say overrated. I think 56.4 is a little too high because I do not trust rookie tight ends. I think tight end is one of the toughest positions to learn coming in as a raw young guy because you literally are learning to be an offensive lineman and to be a pass catcher at the same time and understanding route recognition and reading the quarterback at the same time. You have so much on your plate at once as a tight end. It's difficult to be successful right away. You see it very rarely in the NFL. And, Travis had the luxury with the Chiefs of missing that entire first rookie season and then very next season coming in and be able to pick it up right away. So to me, Kyle Pitts, I love him as a player. At number 6, I think there's better guys below him here.
I think he's right where he should be at 6 here. Obviously, like Mike talked about, Matt Ryan is going to need some guy to check or look down to outside of Ridley and Ruggs. Did I say Ruggs?
No, yeah, you said Ruggs.
Russell.
Okay,
Lord.
Russell,
outside of Russell and Ridley. So Kyle Pitts, I think, will be a valuable weapon for Matt Ryan this year, just for the fact that there is no other really guy. So I like him exactly where he's at.
Yeah, I'm going to go with properly rated here just because I'm unsure about the health of Calvin Ridley. And so I think Kyle Pitts could be boom or bust here. I mean, I think he could have an amazing season, or I think he could kind of shit the bed or kind of be hit or miss. So I'm going to go with properly rated here at an ADP of 56.
After that, coming in at number 7, we have Dallas Goedert of the Philadelphia Eagles coming in with 60.3 ADP currently. I think he's underrated, actually. I think Dallas Goedert is a phenomenal pass-catching tight end. I think that the only thing in his way right now is Zach Ertz, and Zach Ertz has been slowly regressing downhill, as we've seen year by year the last 3 years. So this is his time to steal the show, especially with, depending on what happens here with Jalen Hurts, or if there's a, whisper Deshaun Watson trade down the road. I think that that's a possibility, as I've heard some rumors, and that Goddard prevails in that situation, especially with either one of those quarterbacks. So I think Goddard's going to be phenomenal. I think that he's finally going to have this season to have a great one and get himself into a true tight end 1 position. He's underrated, in my opinion.
I agree. Underrated for sure. I think he actually around the Hawkinson Andrews mark is where you should look at him, just for the fact that Ertz is on his way out and really regressing as well. And Hurts is going to need somebody to pass to, and Goddard's going to be the guy. So I like Goddard. I think it's underrated. I think it's kind of closer to where that Andrews spot should be.
Now I'm going to go with overrated here just because Zach Ertz is not out of the picture just yet. I don't really trust Jalen Hurts at this moment in time, and so I'm going to go overrated for Dallas Goedert just because I'm not willing to spend that high of a pick. I mean, he's a 60 ADP on a tight end. I'm not willing to go that high.
All right, after that, we got a couple more in here we're going to name off, but we got Noah Fant from Denver coming in at number 8 at 67.2 in the ADP chart. I'm a big fan of Noah Fant. As long as he's healthy on the field, he should be a supreme target for that team, and especially the way that they run their offense. So Noah Fant to me is slightly underrated, but also in a good range for good value. So if you scoop him up around 70, I think you got to get yourself a true number one tight end.
I'm going to go right where he should be. No offense, right where he should be, 67.2. And I like Mike said, you can't go wrong with him. I think as long as the guy can stay healthy this year, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I definitely think he's underrated at an ADP of 67, only because I do think that Aaron Rodgers will be the quarterback of the Broncos. And then at that point, Noah Fant's going to blow up like you've never seen before.
Oh, we're still going on about that.
That'd be something special to see, Jason. I mean, that would be great.
We're still going on about that.
All right, guys, we got one more to go over here. Tyler Higbee for the Rams tight end coming in at 85.8 on the ADP chart. I think he's overrated. I think there are better options underneath him, such as Rob Gronkowski, Mike Gesicki, and I mean, we could go Hunter Henry potentially could be an option.
Robert Tonyan.
And I mean, yeah, that's an option. I think he kind of was a fluky touchdown number last year, was 11, I believe.
Hey, we'll have to see.
But honestly, Tim Tebow at tight end is probably better than Tyler Higbee. So, but no, in all honesty, guys, though, I think he's a little overrated with the Rays. I think there's better options there. My sleeper, though, is Mo Alley Cox from the Colts with Carson Wentz combined. I think that is a touchdown red zone machine potentially there. What do you guys got?
For me here, I think Tyler Higbee is overrated. Granted, I do like him. He's not far overrated by any means because he has Stafford passing to him. So look for him to still get some reps in because Hawkinson got reps with Stafford just fine. Look at Higbee having the same thing. Like I said, I wouldn't go that far down, but maybe a couple spots there.
Yep, good point.
My hidden sleeper for tight end to look for in the late rounds, guys, is rookie Adam Trautman of the New Orleans Saints here. Third round pick, 6'6", 230. Just think about this. 2018, Winston had over 200 attempts to the tight end, fifth best in the league. And 2019 with the Bucs, he also had 70 completions between two tight ends as well. So in that, like, I think Jameis Winston's going to look for a tight end, and there's no straight starter veteran tight end on that presence. So look for Adam Trautman to be a weapon for New Orleans.
Okay. I will also go overrated with Tyler Higbee. I mean, I think there's a lot of potential there now that they have Matthew Stafford. I agree with you, Tanner. And so, I mean, he might improve a little bit. I'm just not a big fan of drafting him at that ADP. So I'm going to go overrated for Tyler Higbee. My sleeper is going to be an ADP of 134, Evan Ingram of the Giants, and I do believe that this will finally be the year where he's not going to get injured.
If that's the case, he
That'd
can put
be
a
awesome.
big.
He can explode.
If that's the case, we're looking at 1,000-yard tight end potentially.
No.
Potentially.
So I mean, that'd be a sight to see finally, if you could all put it together for once. But any final words, you guys? Thank you so much for listening out there, YouTube land and Spotify land.
I mean, are we going to announce that we may not be on next week?
Well, we will try to make that work. We've been on every single week, as you guys know,
Correct.
for 1 year now, almost one full year.
Almost.
We have a lot going on. Obviously, we're transitioning from this studio's here to a new studio, and so with that said, it's going to be difficult for us to spend a lot of time on preparing for the show. But I mean, I think that we can make it happen.
I'll put it this way: there could be a big surprise next week.
Yeah.
Even though we're likely going to take the week off, there might be a surprise.
Big surprise.
Which means you should, like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications in case we do put up a show.
Keep an eye out on our social media pages. I'll keep you guys updated as well.
Yeah, of course. And obviously, we'll be at Chiefs camp here soon, and we're going to have a big show August 4th, without a doubt. It's going to be huge. Very excited for that. Lots of Chiefs news coming out, obviously. So that's going to be something we're going to be spending an entire show on Chiefs talk, basically.
Correct.
The entire 1 hour, at least, will be about Chiefs. So with all that said, you guys, thank you so much for joining, and I will see y'all on the next one.
See ya.
See you guys.